Hello everyone, this is YK Reviews and we've got some major updates when it comes to the writer's strike. Essentially, Hollywood has been completely shut down. We've got writers and now we've got actors joining in on the strike. We've got studio heads, most specifically Bob Iger from Disney, commenting about the strike, but essentially everything has been shut down. So let's get straight into it and talk about it here. So, if you aren't aware currently, there has been a writer's strike going on for the last couple of months now. Full details about that, I did a video for part of the weekly entertainment news video. I'll have a link somewhere around here if you want to know full details. Basically, writers are going on strike against the studios because they want better pay, better residual check payment structure, along with like situation with the AI, which we heard some very interesting news about that when it comes to studio heads, which we'll definitely be discussing. So that's mainly the issue that the writers are striking about. And so basically, since no deal has been compromised right now due to like the deadline here, that deadline has passed and now the committee has basically recommended a strike for all like people under contract, actors, actresses, all of that stuff. So essentially everything has just been completely shut down. Some exceptions have been made when it comes to like filming overseas, which we'll also be discussing here, but essentially with everybody in Hollywood now going on strike, a lot of things have been shut down, so we'll go deep diving into that. But that's basically the run-of-the-mill short version of it here. Now, normally I would include this as part of like the weekly entertainment news video, but because there's going to be so much to discuss and the weekly news video for this week, which I'm going to be filming straight after this, is already jam-packed with so many things, most likely DC and Marvel related stuff, Wolverine, Deadpool 3 especially, which we'll be looking into all of that stuff. So keep an eye out on that. I'll come out either later on today or most likely tomorrow morning. So if you want to keep up to date with all of this information here, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on these types of videos here. Hit the like button to show the writers support, because for me, I'm with the writers here. They do deserve more pay, especially after everything that we have heard about it. But without further ado, this is coming from multiple different like news outlets. So we'll be skipping around from Variety to Deadline to the Hollywood Reporter, but with the Hollywood Reporter confirming here that the SAG-AFTRA's negotiation committee unanimously recommends strike as contract deadline passes without a deal. So after SAG-AFTRA, I'm just going to shorten it here, deadline for the expiration of its film and television contract packages passed on Wednesday at midnight with no deal reached with the studios and streamers. So basically Warner Brothers, Netflix, Disney, amongst other ones here. Its negotiating committee unanimously voted to recommend that its national board call a strike. But basically, as we continue here, after more than 4 weeks of bargaining, the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, AMPTP, the entity that represents major studios and streamers including Amazon, Apple, Disney, NBC Universal, Netflix, Paramount, Sony and Warner Brothers, remain unwilling to offer a fair deal on the key issues that are essential to the SAG-AFTRA members. And they made a comment here saying that this is the union's choice, not ours. In doing so, it has dismissed our offer of historic pay and residual increase, substantially higher caps on pensions and health contribution, audition protections, shortened series option period, a groundbreaking AI proposal that protects actors' digital likeness and more. The statement continued. It added that SAG-AFTRA has put us on the course that will deepen the financial hardship for thousands who depend on the industry for their livelihoods. Now, what's crazy about this, here a little bit of history that I was learning about, is that this double strike is the first since 1960. So basically the first time the writers and the actors joined together to combine this strike. So this is the first double strike since the 1960s. And this all began around June 7th. So over a month now of striking basically here, and there's been no common ground, no leeway or anything like that at all. So now before we dive into like what's been affected or anything like that and what's going on when it comes to like what they're looking for, Bob Iger, who ironically got announced as continuing being the CEO of Disney for another 2 years. Yesterday, at the time of this recording here, he came out and actually spoke about the strikes. So here's what he had to say, because this is coming from the Deadline. It says, Bob Iger says linear TV may not be core to Disney as company explores strategic options, hits the SAG-AFTRA and the WGA for the disruptive demands in labor fight. So as we continue through the article here, he criticizes the SAG-AFTRA and the WGA for demands that are not being realistic in their respective labor fights with the AMPTP. To shorten this, I'm just going to say SAG as the writers and AMP as the studios, just to like shorten everything here. But he basically continued, adding that the resulting strikes could do serious damage across the economy. He was speaking to the CNBC, talking about a whole range of things here, which some he does have a bit of a point here, but for the most part, honestly, like him sitting in his like $54 million yacht, saying how the writers are asking for more pay is being unrealistic, sounding like a complete asshole with his comments here. Because like I mentioned, he just got announced that his contract is being extended as a CEO for Disney for another 2 years, so basically till 2026. So he's getting that extra money. Like from what I read, I remember it was like 26 million a year, so that's 52 million for the 2 years of his contract there. And he's complaining about people wanting more wages, wanting residual checks for the work, the hard work that they're putting in for the TV and movies that they're writing and doing here. So it just baffles me, these CEOs only cares about the money being lined up in his pockets. But the funny thing is him, along with all the other studio heads, seeing that the box office is bombing, going for live action remakes and reboots for movies that nobody's asking for, nobody's caring about. Hell, look at the Flash movie and the marketing for that. Look at like Elemental, barely any marketing. Blue Beetle wanting to put out a trailer the same day as a Wonka trailer. Like, these studio heads are confused about how much money they're losing, not focusing on like the real aspect of it. So honestly, the guy just sounds like an absolute moron with these comments. But that's my little run over here, because we continue with the article here, saying he continues saying that the labour situation is very disturbing to me. Coming after the ravages of COVID, he continued, this is the worst time in the world to be adding to the disruption. I understand any labour's organisation's desire to have its members to be compensated fairly based on the work that they deliver. We've managed as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that the directors contribute to the great business. We wanted to do the same thing with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with the actors. There's a level of expectations, and they are adding to the challenge the business is already facing, emphasizing that the guilds are not being very realistic in what they're asking for here. Now, the idiot did bring up some good points, however, here, because in the same article, he's saying that streaming will become a profitable and stable business, though the rush to migrate content to streaming was, in retrospective, costly in every sense of the word. We ended up taxing our people in terms of their time and their focus way beyond where they had been. Marvel is a great example of that. The comic book entity had never produced episodic series. Suddenly, it was tasked with not only increasing the film output, but also cranking out series for Disney Plus. It diluted focus and attention among staffers and talent, as well as with audience. And we've seen articles about visual effects being rushed, workers being overworked. The quantity over quality was so apparent with phase 4 of the MCU especially, and even with the fact they're putting movies out for streaming rather than theatrical releases. Soul, Turning Red, Luca, going to like Disney Plus rather than releasing it theatrical. And even the ones that they did release theatrical, I can't remember off the top of my head what that movie was called, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal. It released like last year, but there was no marketing for it. I think it was like Strange World, something like that, and it just bombed. The reviews received was so poorly. So now apparently they are going to be pulling back on spending when it comes to Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar and other suppliers basically. But that's the only positive thing that he said, is that they're going to be reducing quantity over quality, which we did hear a couple of weeks ago when it comes to that. So that's the only positive that we can look at it here. But what's interesting enough as well is that, like a little side note, is with Oppenheimer going on right now, the cast of Oppenheimer actually left the premiere that's going on in London for the strike here. So again, coming from the deadline, Oppenheimer cast leaves London premiere before screening as the SAG officially strikes course. So the director Christopher Nolan actually told the crowd at the London premiere that the cast of his film had left and are off to write their picket signs as the SAG prepares to go on strike. So Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Kenneth Branagh, Rami Malek and so many more were on the red carpet, but they were off to write their picket signs so that they can go on strike. So Oppenheimer is still going to be releasing. That's not going to be a problem, but just nobody's going to be promoting it. However, for the other projects, so like what is going to be affecting this here, so according to the Variety, it's saying that Gladiator 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 are preparing to stop filming due to the strike. And we've got House of Dragon, that one is currently being filmed in the UK and some of the actors are being tied to they're British actors, so they're not going to be the ones affected by the strike here. But you've got Gladiator 2, you've got Sandman, you've got Deadpool 3 being affected. So this is what they've just announced right now, because the strike is just got announced. We'll most likely hear more when it comes to like the next couple of days, next couple of months of what is also going to be delayed. Now, in terms of like what actually went down, the SAG president Frandrescher, apologies if I butchered the name here, she came out and gave this speech. So again, coming from the deadline here, the actors' strike is probably going to last a while, according to the leadership. And she laid out the reasoning for their strike in an emotional press conference, basically confirming here, we have a problem. This is a very seminal hour for us. I went in thinking that we would be able to avert a strike. The gravity of this move is not lost on me. It is a very serious thing that has impacted thousands, if not millions of people across the country and around the world. Not only members of this union, but people who work in the other industries that service the people that work in this industry. We have had no choice. We are the victims here. We are being victimized by a very greedy entity. And we continue here. She was shocked by the way studios executives are treating actors. I cannot believe it. Quite frankly, how far apart we are on so many things. It is disgusting. Shame on them. They stand on the wrong side of history. And there was even an article that came out earlier this week where AMP, the studios, basically their strategy for the writers are basically to keep it going until October, so that the people that are on strike, the writers, will basically run out of money and be forced to come back. So the studios we're never going to be agreeing a deal here. So their logic and the disgusting thought process was just have them wait it out, run out of money so that they can't pay rent or mortgage or whatever it is, pay their bills, and then be forced to come back. That is their strategy here. So then we continue here. The end game is to allow things to drag on until union members start losing their apartments and losing their homes, a studio executive told Deadlines. Acknowledging the cold as ice approach, several other sources reiterated the statement. One insider called it a cruel but necessary evil. And so she had some harsh words to say about that. A necessary evil, can you believe that? We had a whiteboard with quotes just so the room would remember some of the things that were said. You know what? Eventually people will break down the gates of Versailles, and then it's over, and we're at that moment right now. And they even revealed the ridiculous AI proposal here. So basically, the studio heads want this groundbreaking AI proposal where background performers should be able to be scanned and get paid for the one day's pay, and their companies should own that scan of their image, their likeliness, so that they can use it for the rest of eternity in any project they want with no consent and no compensation. You think that's a groundbreaking proposal? I suggest you think again. So the studios actually thought that they can use the background performers' likeness with no pay, no nothing, and they sat there thinking, I don't understand. I thought that was a good idea. Why didn't they accept that? That's how messed up in the head they are, these studio heads. So now that this strike is basically going on, so there's not going to be any movie-related information, TV shows, animated stuff, or anything like that. People aren't going to be going out to promote the movies or anything like that. So Hollywood is essentially desert town, basically, like no performance, no nothing like that. And honestly, good for them. It looks like though that 2024 at this rate is going to be a very quiet year when it comes to movies and shows. Not much coming out or anything like that. So I won't lie, myself and other YouTubers are kind of getting worried when it comes to content, but it is baffling and it is strange with the decision makings that they're doing here. So this is going to be like an ongoing process. Like I said, I don't see this ending anytime soon, especially with like how far apart they are, especially with like the mindset. They want to wait till October, so I don't even think it's going to be done by October, but that about wraps it up for like this brief update when it comes to like the writer's strike, about what's going on, the details, the ins and outs or anything like that. So please let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section down below. Are you with the writers? Are you worried now? Like, let me know in the comment section down below. And also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We do these updates almost on a daily with the weekly entertainment news videos coming out every single week. So definitely hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on that. And also check back. Like I said, this weekly entertainment news video is coming out either later on today or definitely tomorrow. So definitely subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on that. But thank you so much for watching. This is YK Reviews. Peace.